Hello and welcome to this episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast, the podcast that focuses on making you sexier than a squirrel to your dog.
Woo! Now, one question that we get asked time and time again, we've got a super cool Ask team. They answer all of our emails and all the inquiries that come through Absolute Dogs. And they get asked this question on a daily basis, and it is, where do I find a dog trainer? Who should I go to for dog training? How do I know a dog trainer is any good? How do I know they're going to teach in a super cool, fun way? How does it work? Like, where do I even start? Because it's a bit of a minefield, and there are certainly different types of trainers out there.
Absolutely, and there's a massive, let's say, variety in the dog trainer world.
That's a nice way of putting it.
I know, I love it. Variety in terms of their approach, in terms of their methods, in terms of their focus, and actually, let's get down to the kind of real stuff that we care about. Do they get real life results or not? And that is the reason why you might go to a dog trainer, as well as a lot of fun. Now, because of this variety, that's exactly why we created the Pro Dog Trainer program, which is a program that takes you through the process of getting the knowledge and getting the actual game playing practical ability to become a professional dog trainer. And so there are pro dog trainers all around the world now, which we're really, really excited about. And it kind of makes us quite kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but there's a need for games and transforming dogs and owners' lives, and now it's more accessible, right?
I remember being in a school not very long ago. No, sadly I wasn't at the school, but I was at a school, and it was my daughter's school, and Tom was with me, and we were both going. Matt was there too, and we went in to do some sort of talk or demonstration. I can't remember what we were doing, but something with dogs. And when we were in there, the children had a test, and they had a test, and the teacher kept saying they're very scared because they've got a test this afternoon, and they've got a test coming, and the test. And Tom said, I mean, you tell the story, Tom.
And then I was like, it's a game. And the teacher said, no, it's a test. Games they do in the morning. It's a test. I said, no, but it's a game. And she said, no, it's a test. And I said, well, why is it not a game? What's the difference? And she was like, it's a test, and then just kind of scuttled off. But the point is that it's like a totally different, what we're really passionate about is that dog training is fun. Dog training is both fun for dog and owner, and it's real life results driven. And that happens through games, and whether you can look at them as tests or exercises. That used to be my favorite. Dog training exercise, and you must be serious and cannot laugh. Why can't it be a game?
And the thing is that you can apply this to all walks of life. You can apply this to everywhere you go. And that is whether you are you're presenting, whether you're doing an event like Tom and I do as dog trainers. We do an event called Super Trainer Live, whether it's you going out there and teaching. So I'm a dog trainer. I never thought I'd be a dog trainer. I was on a path to be a lawyer. You know what, whatever it is that you're doing, you can apply this principle, which is, I suppose it's a bit Mary Poppins, and I probably should leave you to the master to discuss Mary Poppins, but Mary Poppins has a lot of fun, right, Tom?
She has a lot of fun, and she acknowledges that in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. Now, we kind of take it one step further and say, why can't it be 100% fun? But, in picking your dog trainer, what we really want to drive home to you is that a formula for success is that it is fun, games-based, and two, the second element of this is that it's real-life results-driven. They should be gone, but the days are not yet gone. Gone should be the days of you learn a sit, you learn a down, you learn a stay in class, and then you go to the park and you get pulled around and your dog picks you over Tom. Everything in the environment.
I've got an example, and I remember teaching. I was teaching a long while ago when I was renting a facility to teach. And now I'm a professional dog trainer. I compete at world level, and I've got my own facility. But when I started just as many people would start with very little. I rented a field. I paid £10 a week, and anyway. I remember someone coming to class, and it was at the second venue we rented, actually, and she was dragged to the class. She got the dog out the car, or in fact, the dog got out of the car and she tried to capture it, kind of like the dog capture. And she's literally being dragged out there. She's literally going all the way to the class. She gets towed into the class, and the minute the dog gets into class, he starts walking really nicely. And then she asked him to sit, and she asked him to down, and all the special things that she's been doing in that barn area. And then she gets dragged home. And I remember this is like 12, 15 years ago. It's a while back now. And I remember it's definitely pre-Bowerland, so it's definitely pre us having this venue. And I remember thinking, this lady is good in class, but something's going really wrong here. And we were definitely what we would consider now as trainer twos. And this is what we want you to consider when you're thinking about what your dog needs and your dog trainer and the type of trainer you should be driving towards. Yeah. Actually, trainer twos are nice. I mean, maybe we should go through trainers in a second, but trainer twos are nice. But really, I wasn't a trainer 3. I was only a trainer 2. And I've never really been a trainer 1. It's not been I've been very lucky in the way I've been brought up into dog training. I haven't, even my very first dog trainer with my lurcher, he was a trainer 2. He was still like clicker and reward, and so I've never really experienced trainer 1s being one, but I definitely visited many and realised that it wasn't the right place for me. But anyway, you go for trainers.
Yeah, so let's kind of really simplify this, and the way that we'd kind of get you to think about dog trainers and picking a dog trainer and choosing a dog trainer. The first thing is, what type of trainer are they? Now, the thing is that when you're kind of chatting to dog trainers, often they'll talk about various methods and various terminologies, and really, let's keep it really simple and try and identify which of the 3 categories this dog trainer falls into. So the category number 1, trainer 1, we call them. These are trainers that focus on stopping what they don't want. And the way that they do that is by using aversives, using force, using intimidation, using punishment. So whether it is that they just use intimidation and kind of telling off, as it were, or whether it is that they use tools like choke chains or just kind of jerking the dog around, or maybe like shock collars. All these trainers, they fall into what would be a trainer 1 category.
So the example I can remember, Poppy, my border collie, you might have owned a dog similar. She disliked other dogs. She disliked other breeds of dogs, particularly big black dogs. She really disliked Labradors. She didn't like standard poodles. Tom owned a standard poodle. It was one of our first talking points. And actually, I went to a couple of trainers. One used a spray collar on her. The other used chains and threw them at her back legs. The other used stooge dogs who actually were pretty aggressive and actually were pinning other dogs. So all of those experiences were very bad for me, were very bad for Poppy. And yet I didn't feel I knew better. And I paid a lot of money and I invested a lot of trying to get it right, and I got it wrong so many times in picking the wrong trainer, and it really was a bad fit. Like, we picked a wrong trainer and I didn't know any better.
And the cool thing is that you can actually get to grips with what kind of trainer they are by just asking them, about the work that they do, asking them maybe about the last session that they had with a person, get them to describe what happened. And so you can kind of start to think, which group do they fall into? I was having a conversation with an amazing dog owner this morning. She came for a behaviour consult because she had some unfortunate advice where, unfortunately, she'd gone to a class and this was very recently. So that when I say gone should be the days, really it's still
happening. It's still very present. It's still very what happens, right?
Yeah, and the lovely lady with her lovely dog, very, very worried about the training class, was like barking and lunging at the people and the dogs in the training class. And the trainer actually made a sort of a bit of a, let's say, I'm reluctant to call it a demonstration of how if the trainer stepped within 1 meter of the dog would lunge and bark and try and nip their ankles. And if they were 1 meter away, she could kind of cope with that, and it wasn't too bad. And the amazing thing about this owner is she went away from that class and she was like, you know what, I'm not going back because that just does not fit with me, and I don't think that's right for my dog.
I think that's so important that we know that some styles of training are not going to suit our dogs. And this is, I suppose, what this whole podcast is about. You understanding about maybe selecting a dog trainer. Maybe you're a dog trainer yourself and you're understanding how to select a dog trainer. You're understanding how whether classes might work for you or not. I'll give you an example. I run a really big facility here, and yet sometimes I don't put one of my dogs in a class for a while. And so Easy, for example, my border collie, she is 3 years old and she's only been in agility groups since she was 12 months. And yet there's been groups going on here daily. I don't even need to pay for them. There are groups. And yet I've never put her in a class because I didn't actually want her to have any poor rehearsal. Yeah. So what I did was gave her good rehearsal. Tom and I would walk our dogs together. She would come and do boundary games and some of the other things we do. But what we're telling you is that, or what we're sharing with you is that you don't have to go to a dog training class. You can do a lot of things online. You can do a lot of things virtually. There's like almost in this world now, I mean, God, we've just talked about it with Pro Dog Trainer. There's a fusion model, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to those 3 types of trainer. Trainer 1 uses punishment, aversives, intimidation to stop what they don't want. What a trainer 2 does is a trainer 2 focuses on what they do want, and they focus on that in terms of the behavior that they want the dog to do. So for example, let's think of an example of we don't want our dog to jump up. So what a trainer 2 might do is teach the dog to sit in the presence of people. Now, the nice thing about trainer 2s is that actually very little harm happens, right? So it's very much
they're pretty harmless, right?
Using rewards, using food, using toy, using praise. It's all really nice. It resonates with all of us much more. The challenge is whether then real life results happen, because what the trainer 2 approach is, and trainers that kind of fall into that trainer 2 category, what they do is they find themselves teaching behaviors that almost become like party tricks, like they're teaching the sit in the class. That doesn't help your dog recall in the park.
I think all people have seen this, right? Like where you have something, but it's only available when you go and get your treat pot out, and you go to a certain space in a certain place in a certain room,
and it borders on bribery, right?
And it does, and it is the fact that actually when you go out in real life, it doesn't really work, and actually in real life you don't have this behavior. So for me, a great example of this was recall. Easy had a brilliant response in all environments, but it all started in the house environment, and I grew it. But it was good in every environment, and I didn't need food, and I didn't need toys, and I didn't need anything. It's a real life ready response. Whereas 15 years ago, if I didn't get the cheese out, there was no way Poppy was coming back. I had to get the cheese out. So it was kind of a bit more like it was a bribery. Let's not even say borderline. It was bribery, pure bribery.
Then there's the trainer 3. Then we'll talk about how you can differentiate between the 3 of these in a second. But then there's the trainer 3. And what the trainer 3 does, and the whole reason why we created this Pro Dog Trainer program for people that actually you're an existing dog trainer, you want to take the leap to being a trainer 3, or you dream of being a dog trainer and you may as well do it properly, or you're a dog owner and you think, God, I'd love to be the trainer 3 for my dog. That's why we created the Pro Dog Trainer program. And a trainer 3 is focused on real life results. A trainer 3 knows that the reason why the dog is behaving the way they're behaving is just because of the way that their brain is shaped at that time, their strengths, their weaknesses, their personality. And we can reshape that by playing games. We can play games with them that teach them skills, and it goes beyond whether there is food present or not. That dog is now armed for the life that they need to lead. So in terms of struggles like reactivity or struggles like being really distracted, or struggles like being overexcited, trainer 3s win the day. Trainer 3s get success because we actually reshape that dog's brain at their core, so that dog goes out into the world and makes great choices.
Now, let's be honest. I don't know if I want to say this, but I think I do. It's that there are a shortage of trainer 3s. Yeah. And as much as they're out there, the reason I was on a path to becoming a lawyer, and I was definitely, it was all laid out in front of me, and yet there was a calling for this. Like nobody else offered it, nobody else had it, it wasn't available. This wasn't games-based dog training, was not a thing, and even if it was a thing, I couldn't find anyone in like about 200 miles of me that would consider like helping. And even if they did know it, they didn't always want to help either, because actually they didn't always have the ethos or the mindset that they were trying to grow or do anything different. So I suppose I got on this sort of trainer 3 sort of path, I suppose, kind of more like a roller coaster. And actually when I got on this path, roller coaster, put my seatbelt on and strap myself in, it's amazing. It's been immense. And what I would say to all of you guys is look for a trainer 3, search for a trainer 3, find a trainer 3. But if you really can't find one, then become one. And actually your dog really needs you to be the trainer 3 that they're looking for out there. And you also, when you're a trainer 3, it's way more than dog training, because like we said, when we went into the school, we're a trainer 3 when we're in the classroom, or we're a trainer 3 when we're in our work life, or I'm a trainer 3 when I'm running my teams and I'm working within our teams that we work in. Like trainer 3 is a way of life. And yes, it's dog training, and don't get me wrong, oh my God, it's epic fun. And you get way more out of it too.
Like there's a reason why everybody who's been through the Pro Dog Trainer program, they're like going out there and rocking it, and their classes are fully booked, and like they attract students rather than having to go out and search for them. It's so cool. But the way that you can start to figure out before you even take your dog into an environment where you can figure out if this trainer is for you is, by asking them a few questions. The first one is just asking them to describe the kind of work that they do. The second one is, that's quite a fun one, and it can really be enlightening, is actually just getting them to describe maybe the dog that they just worked with just prior to the last dog they worked with, and what struggle that dog was experiencing and what they did and how that worked. The third one is then telling them about your struggle or telling them about your dream, and then asking them, what can we do to make this happen? What would we do? What would the work look like? And what you've got to notice in this is, first of all, listen to what they're saying and the actual things that they're saying that they would do or they would get you to do. But even more than that, notice the language patterns. Notice when they're talking about the what don't I want rather than the what do I want. Notice when they're talking about the behavior that they're going to reinforce rather than how they're actively going to reshape this dog's brain and arm this dog with the skills that they need to make great choices in that situation. When they're saying things like that, they're the trainers that you need to grab. They're the trainers that are going to get you the results.
And I think we've got to know, Tom, that actually when we do that, we can also observe them. So there's an opportunity sometimes, whether it's so many trainers these days are online, we're online, everything we do is online, so you can observe them, but also you might be able to observe a class and sometimes be open to just actually booking a class without your dog. Because when you book a class without your dog, you might get them to demo some stuff, or you might ask them to show you bits, and you'll get a feel for it. I think the big thing and the warning that I would say to everybody out there, a few things actually. One is, your dog doesn't have to go to a class to be well behaved, and your dog doesn't have to go and attend a physical class. That's not always important. Sometimes it's detrimental.
And in fact, unless it's the right class, that is going to pull you away from your dream rather than bring you towards it.
Let's be honest, I run a really big dog training centre. So if I really didn't feel that, I wouldn't be telling you that, because I run a big dog training centre. So surely that doesn't go along hand in hand with what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yes, go to classes when they're run well, when they're managed well, and when the dogs are right for them. Equally, sometimes they might not be right for everyone, and that's okay. And I suppose the next thing for me is that just ensure that you're happy with everything and it feels right and it sits well with you, and you're enjoying it and your dog's enjoying it, and that you are getting real life results. Because if you're not, then we might need to tweak something, change something, look at something, and it's always okay to do that. You growing yourself to be a better dog trainer, but equally, because everyone in here, everyone listening, we're dog trainers, right, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely, whether you knew it or not. Now, the next thing that is almost a game changer in terms of how you approach the training of your dog is that whether you go to a class or whether you watch, follow one of the Absolute Dogs online programs, or watch one of the digital downloads of the DVDs in the Absolute Dog store, whatever it might be, the fact is that the training doesn't happen in the moment of you watching those videos. It does not happen in the moment of you being in the class, because that is just 1% or less of the time that dog is alive for that week. And what changes behavior and what grows a dog and what reshapes their brain and what turns their struggles into strengths is this one principle, that dogs will become more of what they do every day. So what you teach them in that one class is not going to impact them it's not going to be the transformer of their struggles. It's what you learn in that class that then you do at home. So from that point of view, first of all, you should find this liberating, because it moves you away from a world where you think that somebody has to physically be in the room with you to train your dog, and you can actually do it online and you can homeschool your dog, because really homeschooling is the only kind of school that works for dogs. It's whether you learn how to homeschool in a class setting or online. And the second thing that's really important is that there's no pressure in that class to actually do any of the exercises or tests that trainer might have for you. You can watch. Maybe your dog's present, maybe your dog's not present.
And I think that's the power,
and you go away and you grow, or you think, actually, that learning's not for me, and I'm going to go find my answers elsewhere.
That's 100% the power. The dog does not have to be in the room to do that. I mean, Tom and I've both had multi occasions where Tom's like, someone's just landed there with their saucepan in the behaviour console, or I've been teaching and doing, stopping dogs chase in the field and practical on the ground stuff or online stuff, and that someone's literally like, but he didn't chase the sheep. I wanted to show you him chasing the sheep. I'm really disappointed. He didn't chase any sheep. So people want to show you that stuff. It's not needed.
Really,
it's not needed.
Funny one. I had a behaviour console in the past week, it was a few days ago, and it was for two dogs living in the same household that were struggling, let's say, to get along. There'd been some dog fights, and we came up with this really cool plan. It was really simple, and we knew it was going to work, and the owner was going to go away and get great results. But just before the end of the session, they were like, "But hold on a second, we've not put them together." No, because what's been happening the past few weeks when you put them together? Well, they fight. Well, I don't think that's the answer. And so what we've got to be aware of, that when we're trainer threes, when we're games-based dog trainers, when we're playing games with our dogs, reshaping their brain, getting real-life results, that doesn't have to happen in the situation. We reshape their brain for the situation.
And as much as this is not what we're covering right now, you know what? Management is okay, and allowing them not to rehearse what you don't want for a little bit, so it almost reshapes it again and starts to like darken that corridor, is also okay, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, not a very, very similar one. Little dog Buddy, who's stayed for residential, and he's a real monkey. They said, can we bring them both together so they can both learn everything together? And I'm like, no, it's possibly the worst thing you could do, because it is sometimes right, splitting it up, changing it around, managing things. I think what Tom and I are both saying, whether it's online, whether it's in person, whether you're meeting a dog trainer face to face, whether you're seeing someone through Zoom or through Skype or through any other way, however you're seeing them, you absolutely want to work with trainer threes. Trainer threes are the ones to work with. And if you don't know a trainer three, and there's not a trainer three in your area, become a trainer three for your own dog, let alone the ripple effect you'll cause on the world around you, because that's certainly the journey that I've had. I'm pretty sure it's the journey that Tom's had. We didn't necessarily step out and go, we shall become trainer threes. It was just kind of a journey that the world needs more games, more fun, more trainer threes.
And if you're a dog trainer listening to this podcast, because I know that we have a lot of dog trainers out there that listen
and people who are passionate about dogs, right?
That listen to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast. Hey, dog trainers and passionate people. The cool thing is that as dog trainers, we should be constantly growing, right? And so actually, there's been the revolution from punishment, aversive-based methods to reward-based methods. But now there needs to be another revolution, and this is kind of your call to arms on it, and that is that there needs to be the revolution of arming owners with the right stuff so that they get real life results, of actually playing games and reshaping their brain. And that's what being a trainer 3 is. And we're literally urging you, if you can jump into the Pro Dog Trainer program. It only opens once a year, but when it opens, jump into it, because you become a strong magnet. And so what happens is that you stop kind of searching out clients and students, and actively they look for you. There's the reason why this whole game changer movement is like it's bigger than we ever even imagined, and that's because there's a need that people have been told too much that there is no hope. And absolutely there is hope, right? When someone tells you there is no hope, what you need to hear, guys, is that you have just exhausted their ability and their understanding of the situation, and we do not want you to give up. So with that, guys, there's always a game for that. Trainer threes is the way to go. We've covered how to find your dog trainer and how to determine if a dog trainer is someone who you maybe want to surround yourself with. That was this episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast. We will see you next week. And remember,
stay sexy.